From the hot asphalt and steep banked curves of superspeedways like Daytona and Talladega, to the remote sun-scorched outbacks of our planet, where only the best prepared venture. From the explosive energy of the drag strip to the thundering roar of the grandstands, a new breed of driver has taken to the field, behind the wheels of the most advanced machines ever driven. Aerodynamic champ cars that snake through street courses or blast around high-speed ovals at close to 240 miles an hour. Bone-busting, gut-wrenching off-road vehicles made of steel and silicon. Nitro-burning dragsters that accelerate at the rate of a rocket ship. Stock cars, street cars on steroids that slingshot around steep banked ovals in tightly packed groups, just waiting for the right moment to strike. These are today's supercars, some built for speed and acceleration, others for endurance and agility. All are a fusion of aerospace engineering, silicon chips, and space-age compounds. A synthesis of 21st century technology that's revolutionizing motorsports. Behind the wheel of today's supercars, men and women mate driving skills and courage to high-tech know-how. Michael Andretti is one of a select field of drivers who race the aerodynamically advanced Champ car. It's one of the most complex pieces of machinery on Earth, but Andretti's driving philosophy is simple.
Well, my style has been described as aggressive. You know, I hate having a race car in front of me. I want to be in front of that race car, and I do whatever I can to get by. I like to think of it as controlled aggression.
Andretti races like his dad once did. From the early 1960s into the 90s, Mario Andretti was one of the top drivers in the world. Winner of the biggest races and championships, the Daytona 500, Sebring, and Indianapolis. Now both Andrettis are teamed together, Michael behind the wheel, Mario advising from the pit. Michael's teammate, Christian Fittipaldi, has a similar pedigree. Fittipaldi's father was a top Formula One racer, and his uncle Emerson Fittipaldi was a two-time Formula One world champion and a kart PPG Cup champion. When Christian decided to pursue a racing career, both Fittipaldis offered him some very simple advice.
We picked up from the first one, the second one. It wasn't nothing the same, it was a lot better the second one.
The biggest advice, especially that I got from my part of the family, my parents, is okay, if that's what you chose and you want to do it, then do it seriously. Please do it properly and take it as serious as possible. Once you're doing it, you better do it good, and you better try and like push all the time and go for it and be serious.
At Florida's Homestead track, the two young racers kick things in gear to ready themselves for the upcoming season. Both are members of Newman Haas Racing, one of the most successful and high-profile teams in motorsports. They'll race in almost 24 events on 4 continents. Tracks range from high-banked ovals to Formula One type street courses. One of the season's most prestigious events will be the Long Beach Grand Prix. This is the win they really want. For Fittipaldi, Long Beach is a chance to prove to his teammates, his family, and himself that he has what it takes to win. For Andretti, Long Beach is also a personal quest. A win here would keep alive a family legacy begun by his father over 2 decades ago.
Dad's always there, and you know, he's just another set of eyes, that set of very experienced eyes, I might add, that you know, he can see a lot of things that some of the other guys can't, because he's been there, and under certain circumstances he's been able to help us and make some calls and actually help us win races. So it's really good to have him there.
The practice runs at Homestead are critical. The success of an entire season can hang on bits of data collected during road testing.
Well, there's not a whole lot of changes yet. We're just trying to get him comfortable in the car, and he'll just get up to speed, and we'll just keep going. Another yellow out, so we'll have to sit here for a while. But not much happening yet. Just pretty much what we've been running since we got here.
There's some engine testing going on, there's some chassis testing, there's still some tire testing. We'll probably be doing all 3 this weekend at spring training. It's an exercise that every time we're on the racetrack we're trying something. You know, whether we're here at spring training or whether we're anywhere else. I mean, we're always constantly doing something.
The Newman Haas team was formed when entrepreneur Carl Haas joined forces with motion picture star and racer Paul Newman. Newman's been in the driver's seat and knows the excitement of high-speed competition. But he also knows that no sport is more expensive than open-wheel racing. The tab for a single season can run between $25 and $30 million. So when he was first contacted by Haas, he was reluctant to get involved.
I got a call from him in the fall and said, "How would you like to start an IndyCar team?" I said, "Are you nuts?" And he said, "No." He said, "What if we could get Mario Andretti?" I said, "Where would you like to meet?"
His reaction is understandable because the Andrettis are America's first family of racing. The street in Nazareth, Pennsylvania, where Michael grew up, is named Victory Lane.
I just remember Dad having trophies in the house with race cars on top. Probably about 1965 or so, I think when he was rookie at Indy, we were there and we were able to see the cars and stuff. That's my first remembrance of racing. And for myself, I started racing when I was 9 years old in go-karts.
Racing has changed drastically since the days when Michael was in his go-kart and his father was in the winner's circle. Mario's generation raced by nerve and instinct. Michael and his peers harnessed their skills to a car that in essence is an airplane on wheels, packed with computers and capable of speeds approaching 240 miles an hour. In motor racing, you'll be lapped if you let the technology stand still. So at Homestead, they're testing a new generation of race car, loaded with improved engineering and aerodynamic features gained from the previous season. Every minute of practice is used by the team to tune that car to the razor-thin edge of high performance. Rules govern the car's basic configuration. Its weight, a little over 1,500 pounds, and maximum length, 16 feet 4 inches. Racing teams carefully guard engine performance stats. But depending on settings, these cars can develop over 800 horsepower. This means 0 to 60 in 2.2 seconds, 0 to 100 in slightly over 4, top speed a blistering 240 miles per hour or more. Keeping a vehicle that weighs almost a ton on the track when it's moving at the takeoff speed of a jet seems impossible, and sometimes it is. The previous year, Newman Haas challenged Swift Engineering of Southern California to design and build a vehicle that would stay pinned to the road at maximum speeds and on any track, from twisty road courses to high-speed ovals. The choice of Swift Engineering was a big-time gamble for the racers. An American-made car hadn't won on the open-wheel circuit for over a decade. Designers began by creating a car within a computer. Road testing takes place in the silicon realm of virtual reality. A few keystrokes and designers alter the chassis and can see how a car's aerodynamics change. The best size and placement of the car's aerodynamic features were locked in. Engineers labored to come up with smaller and lighter components. Everything from the gearbox to the car's steering wheel was designed for one thing: to beat the competition. They built 45% scale models and tested them here, in the largest wind tunnel designed exclusively for automotive use. An immense fan harnessed to a 500 horsepower motor generates an airflow speed of 200 miles per hour. A rolling road moves under the spinning wheels of the model, simulating the airflow on the racetrack.
With the ability to recreate our scale models in absolute identical form to the wind tunnel models, we're able to assure ourselves that the performance we see in the wind tunnel is reflected in the performance we're able to see in the racetrack.
One key element to the car's performance is downforce, the road-holding suction created by the car's aerodynamics. Adjustable wings at the front and rear of the car are exactly like aircraft wings, only mounted upside down. The flow of air over and under the wings creates a downward force pressing the car to the ground. The down force holds the car to the road. As a result, it can go faster through curves.
Our cars are probably more airplane than automobile. They are really an aerodynamic device running in real close proximity to the road. The underside of the car is shaped very carefully like a venturi so that the air accelerates to a high speed underneath the car.
The air moving under the side pods creates a partial vacuum, pulling the car toward the ground. The resulting suction holds the car so firmly to the track that it could race upside down. As track conditions vary, the team will regulate the amount of downforce by adjusting the wings on the side pods. The new car that technology helped create was a success. Exceptional aerodynamics mated to an enormously powerful engine created a machine built for speed. But the team was about to find out that technology is no assurance against disaster. It was in 1997 at a road course called Surfer's Paradise on the Gold Coast of Australia. Both Michael Andretti and Christian Fittipaldi were in contention to lead the race when it happened.
When Christian crashed in Australia, it happened right in front of me. I mean, I was the next car behind, and it was big. I mean, I still have the picture in my mind of his car hitting the wall head on, and it was just very scary for me.
Christian was going along the left side of the racetrack, and a car behind him got his front tire entwined with Christian's right rear, and it essentially turned the car to the left. He went into the pit wall, almost head on, and then got airborne and continued to go on, probably around 170, 180 miles an hour this time, and then rotated about 270 degrees and ended up well down the track.
The car went from the left to the right and then back to the left again. I thought that I had hit once and I had gone scraping the wall until I came to like a stop. And that was like sort of unusual or strange, because I never had an accident up to that degree that I sort of like lost my conscience.
With his foot planted firmly on the brake, the resulting G-forces from the crash snapped Christian's leg. His ability to even survive such a devastating impact is evidence of the car's advanced safety features.
When the car crashes, the intent of the designer is that everything comes off the car, so we dissipate a lot of energy, and we're left with a cocoon, the carbon tub, which is the driver's survival cell. The intent is that is completely intact after an accident, but everything else has come off it in order to dissipate the energy.
Accident investigation is extremely difficult with vehicles as delicate as these. There is not much left to analyze after a high-speed crash. If the driver survives, his recollection is hazy at best. Advances in technology help engineers understand what happened.
All of our cars carry a crash recorder or black box, very similar to what the airlines have in airplanes. And we download that data in the event of a crash, and we can see all of the forces of the crash. And so when the cars crash, our colleagues at Ford Motor Company and also at General Motors download the data of the crash, and we look at and analyze everything about the crash. We also have the dummies, crash test dummies, in a simulated race car in the lab at General Motors, where we can duplicate the forces involved in a particular crash, all in an effort to come up with better designs and better protection for the driver, better barriers to run into, all of these things to make this sport safer than it already is.
No matter how safe they make it, a crash can happen at any time.
When you do it yourself, you sort of deal with it, you feel confident that you're not going to make that terrible mistake, and you hope and pray that the men upstairs will watch over you. When you're a father, you see your sons in there, then it's a totally different situation. You almost feel like you should be able to help, but you can't. And because of that, I am not a good spectator at all, and I've never been, and things don't get better, they get worse.
However, all drivers at one time or another are faced with the reality of how deadly racing can be. For Michael, it was a lesson learned at an early age.
When I was little, yeah, we had some friends that were lost. I remember Billy Foster, who used to hang out with us all the time, and was another racer that Dad was really good friends with. I remember him dying the day that he died at Riverside, and I remember just it's weird, that wasn't right, and other people as well. So, I remember at a very early age how dangerous this business can be.
Faced with the death of a friend, racers sometimes need to dig deep within themselves to ignore dangers and push themselves to win.
An idea of what the face shield looks like for him.
For Michael and Christian, the challenge of Long Beach was still ahead.
Not a big difference from new tires to old tires, okay? Maybe a
already on straight away.
In the first race of the '98 season, Michael Andretti ran the Swift car hard at the Homestead track, while Christian Fittipaldi pushed to keep that competitive team spirit alive. Everything worked well. Minor adjustments helped the racers push their cars to high speeds on the steep bank curbs.
Well, when we won in Homestead, it's always a great feeling to win, and to win any race is great. But to win the first one and to win it again after not winning for a full year, which was a little too long, and like we said there, we don't want to wait another year to win another race. So it just was a great way to start off the season.
The first race of the season, the first victory for the Newman-Haas team. It looked as though it was all systems go for Long Beach and the checkered flag. The Long Beach Grand Prix is one of the most notable events of the season. The race is run through the city streets, and the whole area is blocked off from everyday traffic. For the drivers and crew, it is also one of the most enjoyable.
Michael at the hairpin, ready for shoreline.
A high-octane mixture of California glitz and high-speed glamour. Close to 50,000 spectators showed up for Friday's qualifying laps. Crammed along the track's twisty city streets were all manner of racing fan. Newman-Haas was banking on the Swift car and the skill of Fittipaldi and Andretti to once again take them to the winner's circle. For the Andrettis, a win at Long Beach has special meaning.
Long Beach has particular affection from the Andrettis because we've been somewhat, maybe even fairly successful there over the years. And for some reason, we seem to do well. So we just love the scene. Everybody does. It's an event that has come to tradition, strong tradition now. It's extremely popular.
Check the run-out area for donut opportunity.
Apart from that, it's okay. Good grip? Yeah, good grip. But I was expecting more difference from the new tires and I didn't get anything.
Practice runs give Michael and Christian the opportunity to tone up for the unique racing conditions of Long Beach, and it allows the engineers a chance to fine-tune the car for the track.
Right, your spring is hard. Do spring first, then tire pressure. Okay?
With 150 laps of tight, close-quarter, high-speed dueling, the narrow streets make passing a high-risk maneuver. Hairpin corners and tight turns require the drivers to plan strategies far different than the high-speed tactics used at oval tracks like Homestead.
An oval is a little bit more of a feel game where you just you have to let the car work for you, and if it's not, you have to try to express what it's doing to the engineers so they can make the right changes to make it feel the way you want it to feel. Whereas on a road course, you manhandle the car a bit more. You can make up for some of the deficiency of the car. Not all of it, especially nowadays because it's so competitive that everybody's so close.
Long Beach has real tight corners and real long straightaways. What this means is it's really important to get out of the corner and accelerate really quickly, almost like a dragster does. So we put soft springs on the rear and stiff springs on the front to get the car to come off the corner without spinning its wheels badly. The other thing about Long Beach is it's a little difficult on fuel mileage. It's hard for the drivers and the cars and the teams to make 1.85 miles per gallon.
During qualifying, the pit crew uses computers to search for that micro adjustment that might shave a thousandth of a second off the car's time. The laptop is now a commonplace tool for the pit crews of these high-tech racers. All the car's technical systems are monitored by onboard sensors. Performance data is stored in the onboard black box.
In addition, this black box is hooked to a radio transmitter. It's a telemetry system, and that transmits the data across the airwaves, and we have a receiver in our pits hooked to a whole bunch of other computers, and from there we can actually look at real time what's going on with the car. We've got maybe 80, 90 different channels that we can look at, and so this black box is constantly recording what's going on, and after the car comes into the pits, we can plug in a computer, suck that data out, and analyze it back in our truck or there in the pit lane. The biggest thing we get from that is the fuel that the engine is using so that we can predict the mileage the car's making and decide when he needs to come in for a pit stop.
On the first day of qualifying, the drivers, the team, the car, everything seemed in sync and ready for a record run. The engineers analyzed the weather and track conditions. They adjusted the vehicle's aerodynamics to produce optimum speed in the straightaways and through the tight corners. Both drivers clocked outstanding times. Andretti finished 6th and Fittipaldi 12th.
Our technical inspection unit, so what's happening here is they're just checking all the aerodynamic factors and all the widths and lengths of the car, and they're just going through the whole thing.
The height of the car off the ground affects how much downforce it has and where that downforce is applied, and we make adjustments that are in reality tiny. 10 thousandths of an inch, 30 thousandths of an inch. We also change the angles of the wings, both the front and the rear. At some tracks those are bigger, some they're smaller. We can even adjust the fronts during the race. There are small adjusters on the flaps that change the angle, so if the car is understeering or oversteering, if it's not turning the way the driver likes, we can change that during a pit stop.
But on the second day of qualifying, the carefully balanced performance equation was swept away by the onslaught of rain. Wet track conditions meant the team's strategies for qualifying had to be completely reworked. new tires were rolled out. Normally, these cars use wide, treadless tires. The strategy being, the more rubber on the pavement, the better the grip. But the weather changed the priorities. Due to the rain, the team changed to tires with a deep tread, providing better traction in the wet conditions.
Peter, how'd it go today?
Not bad, just a little wet. Wish it hadn't rained.
Unfortunately, neither Fittipaldi nor Andretti was able to better his time.
It rained, so we couldn't improve the time. I think we had a car capable of pole, so from that standpoint, it's a little discouraging, but it's encouraging because it was very good in the wet as well. So whether it rains or not tomorrow, I think we're okay.
The roar of nearly 100,000 fans is drowned out by the deafening thunder of the full field of cars, rumbling to the starting line of the 1998 Long Beach Grand Prix. At the start, Andretti moves up steadily. By lap 7, he is running 5th.
Coming up to the corner off the back straightaway.
Fittipaldi is also running in contention. Starting from the 12th position, the daring Brazilian picks off car after car, and by lap 15, he is vying for 8th place. Negotiating a tight turn on lap 20, Fittipaldi's car is bumped by another. He crashes and is out of the race.
They've brought it all to the end. I guess they decided that they can't clear the track in time.
Now it is all up to Andretti. With the swift Wonder car performing flawlessly, he makes a charge into 4th position. Suddenly he comes into contact with a slower competitor. The car goes airborne. Andretti struggles for control. It appears neither car nor driver is damaged by the incident. Andretti races on. Close to the halfway point, he is running 3rd, in position to win.
No changes in the top 5. It's DeParrott, Herta, Andretti, Pruitt.
In every race there comes a moment of truth where a driver makes a decision in less than a heartbeat. A decision that could take him to victory or to defeat, perhaps even death. For Andretti, this moment comes on the 50th lap. Michael is told over his in-helmet radio that there seems to be a problem with his tire.
Michael, just be gentle, be calm on that left front tire, okay?
A drop in pressure has been detected by the in-car sensors. Andretti knows if he goes to the pits for a tire change, he's lost the race. But if the tire holds, he has a chance of winning. He decides to go for it.
Just be careful that left front.
Engineers watch the telemetry closely like surgeons. They monitor the vital signs of the car. On lap 56, the tire blows, sending Michael Andretti crashing into the wall.
Oh, I just hit the wall.
Andretti is unhurt, but the accident finishes the team's hopes for a victory at Long Beach.
Red flag.
Part of what makes racing exciting is because there is an element of danger. Anytime you take 30 cars, all running 200 and something miles an hour, and put them in close quarters with each other, accidents will happen. And let's be honest, if the driver doesn't have an accident every now and then he probably isn't trying hard enough and going as fast as he really could be.
What happened to the Newman-Haas team at Long Beach is not unusual, especially on a course that some call a high-speed demolition derby. The wet conditions, narrow streets, and speeds faster than ever put many cars out of action. But tight, twisty street courses such as Long Beach continue a racing style that began at the dawn of motorsports. Decades ago, there were no super speedways. A race course was anywhere there was a road, and often where there wasn't. These early races were more about survival than racing skill. Contests ran between cities, some for thousands of miles spanning the length of continents. Those great marathon races continue, but now only in the remote, inhospitable regions of the planet, where man and machine are pushed to the limits in brutal, punishing off-road races. Off-road racing is the fastest growing of all motorsports. A race can take weeks to complete and stretch thousands of miles across the worst terrain on the planet. These races are contests in endurance for both man and machine. Vehicles that race off-road run the gamut from souped-up dune buggies to mountain-climbing sports cars and just about everything in between. This is one sport where just about anything goes. Sports cars, 4x4s, and vehicles that are a bit of both all scamper up Pikes Peak. Many regard the Pikes Peak International Hill Climb as one of the most terrifying of all off-road contests. A momentary loss of traction or concentration can send a driver spinning off the road and into the abyss of death. It all started back at the turn of the century when a wealthy hotel owner and sportsman named Spencer Penrose made a business decision that would affect motor racing forever. In an effort to lure tourists to the Colorado Springs area, he and his associates constructed a dirt highway from the base of Pikes Peak to the 14,110-foot high summit. To attract further publicity, Mr. Penrose introduced an annual hill climb with a prize of $3,000 to be awarded to the winner. The modern-day racers face the same brutal uncertainties as the early drivers. Fog, wind, sleet, rain, and even snow are all possible within the 12.5-mile climb to the summit. There are tight switchbacks, dizzying spirals, and a total of 156 turns, all of this made even more frightening by a lack of guardrails. Today, the Pikes Peak International Hill Climb is held at the same location as the original race back in 1916, and it attracts drivers from all over the world. Another off-road event which began in 1981 and attracts daring competitors from all parts of the globe is the Camel Trophy. A four-wheel drive international adventure challenge, this event usually lasts from 2 to 3 weeks and covers almost 1,000 miles of terrain, ranging from thick jungle to jagged mountains. Competitors are given a series of tasks which they must complete during the course of the race. The teams must use existing tracks and trails, rebuild bridges, cross swollen rivers, and right overturned vehicles. All this in some of the most remote and hostile regions of the world.
Yeah, we make it up. If you put 5 meters down, and then put 10 traps.
We try to prepare some bypass because there are a lot of people working there and 2 people can touch one shovel at the moment. That's why some of us try to do something here. In case of broken bridge, we can use this way.
But the world's record for the most brutal and punishing of all off-road events goes to the Paris-Dakar Rally, a rally that spans continents and easily runs for over 2 weeks. This is the ultimate in endurance motorsports. The race begins in Paris, France, and winds its way to the finish line in Dakar, Senegal, on the northwestern coast of Africa. Hours stretch into days and days into weeks as drivers make their way from one checkpoint to the next. Unlike off-road races such as the Baja 500, where the course is marked and the race is timed from start to finish, the Paris-Dakar Rally requires drivers to actually find their way as they're racing. Drivers are given check-in points, but must use a compass, common sense, and driving skill to make it from one location to the next. They are timed, and the team with the shortest elapsed time between the predetermined segments wins the rally. The harsh beauty of the African landscape and the participation of local villagers help make this race unlike any other in the world. The thrill of off-road racing, combined with big money sponsors and manufacturer muscle, has spawned its own type of off-road vehicle that has grown in popularity in the United States. No class of off-road vehicle has reached the pinnacle of engineering sophistication and technical toughness as a class of vehicles called the trophy truck. These all-terrain behemoths use computer-aided suspension, composite alloys, and advanced metals of magnesium and titanium. Some engines generate in excess of 700 horsepower and can conquer just about anything the good earth puts in their path. When it comes to off-road racing, trophy trucks are top of the heap. And sitting securely in the driver's seat, in a league of his own, is one man. He has scored more wins in off-road racing than anyone else. They call him Iron Man. Winner of the Baja 1000, Fireworks 250, Trophy Truck Drivers Championship, and 16-time winner of the Baja 500. The list goes on, all at an age where others would be doing nothing more strenuous than a weekend golf outing. Up until now, he's been able to win against a pack of younger drivers all seeking to overthrow him. With one of the biggest races of the season looming ahead, he has to stay one step ahead of the pack.
Ivan Stewart, why does he win? He's an animal. He's the Iron Man. He has had so many years of experience running on the terrain in Baja and working with us that we could just click very well together. He goes down and pre-runs constantly to the courses we're going to go to. He puts this truck through its ultimate test constantly and gives us a challenge that really keeps us on our toes, and he's just devoted.
Well, 52 years old, and I'll be 53 in June in the Baja 500, and that's typically one of my birthday presents that I wanted for many, many years now, so I try and reward myself with that.
The Baja 500 was first run over 20 years ago. It started as an unorganized band of off-road trucks, motorcycles, and Jeeps trying to see who could cross the desert first. It has grown into a huge event and even spawned a big brother, the Baja 1000. Some people think it won't be long until Iron Man is beaten. Some even wish he'd pull over and let someone else take a shot at the top spot. But Stewart thinks he still has the winning edge, even on Father Time.
Can you get the Frisbee? One of the reasons that I've been able to race as long as I have been, and driving solo as long as I have, and being as competitive as I have, I think I've probably got some secrets that I use that not everybody realizes. But I try and use very little energy and effort to drive real fast off-road. And take very little out of the equipment is one of the secrets.
Racing has been part of Stuart's life since he was a child.
I've been involved in racing probably all my life. As long as I can remember, I've been racing bicycles or go-karts or kids or foot racing or sub-unit coasters. But as far as off-road racing, back in the 70s, got involved with, well, first in dune buggies, and then I kind of evolved into racing dune buggies, and myself being a mechanic, and then eventually worked into the driver's seat of the dune buggy. And in 1982, I guess it was, I got a call from Kyle Wells to drive a Toyota truck. And the rest is history.
Ivan Stewart is in his 16th year driving off-road trophy trucks for Toyota. During that time, he has amassed 82 victories and 10 drivers' championships.
A lot of our friends and a lot of even our social life all revolve around racing now. And I'm sure that we will be involved with racing until the day we die.
We got a record for you. We've been married 35 years in September. If you can imagine that.
Even though most of these victories were in solo endurance races, Stewart's wife Linda was by his side, riding shotgun throughout his long career.
I feel like Ivan and I work really as partners, just as we do in everything we do. He's a visionary, and he can see way out there, way further than I could ever see. But I think I'm the one that kind of reels him back in and said, okay, now how are we going to get there?
As soon as Stewart completes one race, he'll begin preparing for the next. Even though Stewart has won the Baja 500 several times, he can't afford to coast, not at age 52. In the months leading up to the race, he will undergo a strenuous process of conditioning. Part of his pre-race regimen is to duplicate the physical and mental stress he'll experience during the race.
He'll be up all night, sometimes a couple of days, and very little sleep, and so he puts himself through rigorous paces. He's doing his homework, and he's doing what he has to do to give him a little edge over somebody else that doesn't bother. Ivan started actually working out several years ago, and he enjoyed it so much. It was a challenge. He was challenged by it, and the new challenge as he gets older is, you know, that anybody can not do it, you know. But I mean, how many people? He's 52, and how many people 52 still bother to go to the gym, you know, 3 times a week and work out on his life cycle and do the things he does, and it shows, which pleases me.
Behind his back, Stewart is often called the old man by competitors who are half his age.
I know there's a lot of young kids out there that would love to have my job, and I don't blame them. You know, I really admire them if they want to come and take my job, but they got to take it away from me. It's not going to be easy.
While Stewart prepares himself for the demands of the Baja 500, his truck undergoes a complete mechanical makeover. Stewart's high-tech desert truck travels only about 6,000 miles a year. But in off-road racing, the mileage isn't the problem, it's the terrain that is the enemy. To overcome the abuse and extreme conditions of off-road racing, the truck's wheel travel, ground clearance, and horsepower have all been modified. A standard truck might have 7 inches of wheel travel. Stewart's truck has 22. A stock truck may have 8 inches of ground clearance, but Stewart's trophy truck has 17. A normal truck tips the scale at 5,000 pounds. Stewart's is a lightweight 3,800. Horsepower, 220 is good for a street truck, but Stewart's off-road racer has over 550. This is Stewart's second-generation trophy truck. Toyota engineers replaced the previous 6-cylinder engine with a compact V8.
This is a 300 cubic inch, 550 horsepower V8. It's actually very small and compact. It actually ended up being 9 pounds lighter than the V6 engine we had in here for this development engine, so we're pretty happy of it. TRD has done a fantastic job with getting some reliability and power out of this, and allows us to be very competitive in the desert now, where we were having a little bit of a tough time against our big V8 competitors at that time. So now we've got a good fighting chance against them.
Shocks and suspension are always key to surviving bumps that can blast a vehicle 5 feet or more into the air.
So no matter how big a bump you hit or how fast you're going, it'll absorb the impact and give you a very, very comfortable ride.
The chance for the engineers and Stewart to determine if the truck is in racing condition comes when they take it to a secret location in the Mojave Desert.
The paint nice, the upholstery nice.
Yeah, exactly. Everything is up to it, right?
Trans Tim. Battery, 12.4 volts in the battery. Okay, we gonna warm it up?
Yeah.
Clear.
We'll go out to the desert and run it for approximately 80 miles. This we do to check every operation of the car, from the transmission, TRD working with the engine, to Ivan just getting the feel of the car again, making sure that the brakes work properly, the steering is working properly, that's shifting correctly, just everything like you go and drive a test car. That's what we do.
The fastest times ever recorded in off-road racing have been posted by trophy trucks. Across open desert, these high-tech super trucks have been clocked at speeds close to 150 miles an hour. This truck has been specially designed by Toyota, along with Precision Preparation Incorporated, for Stewart's style of low-impact, energy-efficient racing.
There's a lot of things we've done to make this truck light, fast, agile, and it sounds odd, but as least complex as possible.
Well, the Toyota truck that we're driving now is state-of-the-art. There's no doubt that in racing, off-road racing technology, it's right on the leading edge. The wheel travel, the weight, the balance, the horsepower now that we've got the new V8 engine in the truck is extremely quick and agile across the desert.
The function test goes smoothly. Both driver and truck appear to be operating in perfect pitch.
Anybody in particular that we have to compete against? You know, I don't count on anybody. You know, it's a matter of, I think everybody's serious. They're all serious to compete. And we just take them as they come.
Stewart's driving philosophy is not to fight the land, but rather flow with the terrain, as he says. Feel the machine, and through the machine, the desert.
Ivan is really savvy on the desert situation. He knows a lot about how the car works, and he can tell even if something's not quite right with the car, that it sounds normal, it seems normal to everybody else. He knows there's something not quite there, and he is able to relay that.
Even with the performance upgrades and testing, the truck undergoes a complete makeover between every race. The vehicle is stripped down to a bare chassis. Every component, every nut and bolt is inspected, reconditioned, or replaced.
When we get done with the race, to bring the car back and, as we tear it down, see what problems may be with the car, what needs to be repaired, what we know we're going to have to overhaul. And then we pull the car down to a bare frame and start looking for cracks and doing repairs, and then progressively rebuild the thing until it's back to a good race car again.
It's a painstaking, tedious, and time-consuming process, but necessary for the truck to withstand the special kind of hell that's off-road racing.
Baja is very different, and that's why it is the Baja. You've got combinations of anything from rain to hail to snow to rivers that are overflowing.
Stewart needs all his stamina to endure the scorching heat of Baja in June. The entire course is a pounding, gut-wrenching journey. He'll be racing across deserts, streaking up mountains, plowing through fields of giant cacti, and blasting through burning dry lake beds. For 500 miles, the Baja race is a blistering test of survival, pitting the worst Mother Nature can deal out against a man's will to win.
I think endurance in off-road racing is a huge part of winning. Not only finishing, but winning. Because if you can imagine that you're doing this for many, many hours, under extreme conditions. I'm talking about cold, snow, 120 degrees, with everything you can imagine that could be coming into the race car with you. So I think the whole team has got to have a tremendous amount of endurance and heart and dedication to continue on, because nobody ever had a perfect race.
In a few days, Ivan will try to beat the odds and run that perfect race.
That's the most painful thing of off-road racing, putting this helmet on in here. The truck feels extremely good. Tight, quick, agile, like we expected. Feel like a winner.
Both Ivan Stewart and his sponsors have a lot riding on the Baja 500. The cost of a trophy truck can exceed $300,000. Add the ground personnel, maintenance vehicles, and chopper support, and win or lose, a full racing season of off-road competition can cost as much as $1 million. For Stewart, the winning margin in endurance racing takes more than technology and sponsor money.
You learn with experience, and I've always said that, especially racing in Mexico and in endurance races like we do, experience is a big, big factor.
So one of these guys yesterday said you were an animal. I won't tell you this once.
He said I was an animal, really? You like a goat or something like that?
I think it's squirrel.
He said that. You know, I can't wait to get down to Mexico. But now I talk about not drinking the water. I can't wait to get down to drink the water. That's why I go down there. Race in Mexico and drink the water.
On June 6th, over 155 vehicles were massed at the dusty, sun-scorched starting line for the Baja 500. All the drivers were gunning for Stewart. If someone could beat him, if he failed to win his cherished Baja birthday present, it just might put old Ironman out to pasture for good. Starting and finishing in Ensenada, Mexico, the Baja 500 is a round trip through a brutally hot, inhospitable landscape that punishes both driver and vehicle. Ivan starts the race at 7:30 a.m. He has already been awake and making final preparations for the past 3 hours. The race starts in stages, with each racer separated by 30 seconds.